Happy Monday. Welcome to the WellFit Lab with your host, Burnout Coach Shia 1000. I'm so happy you guys are here. This is the first episode. I cannot believe this. I have been wanting to do a podcast now for like 3 years. My girlfriend and I did a podcast a few years ago. It was called Faith Chicks. Shout out to Shaka. And on that, we talked about our faith and our walk with God. And when that ended, I really was like, you know what, I want to do this again. But I didn't really know how and where to start. And if I really should, if I had the time, mental, physical capacity to get it done. But I do. And here we are. I'm so excited for you guys to be on this journey with me. It is called the WellFit Lab for a reason. So let's get into what is WellFit. WellFit is wellness and fitness, because a lot of the times we think we're well, but we're not fit, or we think we're fit, but we're not necessarily well. And wellness can be anything: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, creative. So I think it's really important that we not box that in and make it one thing. It is multifaceted, our wellness. And it shows up in our life in many different ways. So I wanted to explore that on this podcast. And so what to expect from this podcast? In this podcast, we are going to be having really thoughtful, intentional conversations with some amazing people. Each week in the WellFit Lab, you can expect a weekly conversation with myself, your burnout coach, resident burnout coach here, Shia 1000, about all things mental health, personal wellness, to prevent stress and overcome burnout, to live life with intention. These are very intentional conversations we're going to be having. And I can't stress that enough. A lot of the time we speak and there isn't a lot of intention behind it. And I really think it's important that when you listen to a podcast, you get something out of it. And there is intentional, thought-provoking conversation on that podcast. And it's not just people rambling. Sometimes we listen to podcasts just for fun, but a lot of the time it's for some form of educational purpose. It is for something that can help you get to your next in some area of your life. That's what I listen for. And I think that's what you listen for. So that's what we're going to be talking about here on the WellFit Lab podcast. And then the lab, right? So we talked about what is well, we talked about what is fit, but then the lab. Why did I call it the lab? When you go into a lab, especially as an adult, if you're not in school, like you're going for some sort of workup for your health normally. And that doesn't always have a good thought process around it. It's usually something bad. I want us to change that. I really want us to change it, because the lab can be anything for you. So the lab can be where you go into your prayer closet. That's your lab. That's where you go and you get your spiritual work done in your lab. The lab can be in your office where you're journaling or you're sitting down and you're building your empire. That is your lab. So this is our WellFit Lab. This is our mental space to come have intentional conversations about preventing stress, overcoming burnout. And we're going to talk about everything from family to morning routines, bedtime routines. We are going to have some great conversations. We're going to be talking about faith. Faith is a big part of my life. So we're going to be talking about your spiritual connection. Mine is with God. We can talk about where and who you recognize. Just so you know, I am a Christian burnout coach. I do like to stress that because in a lot of my work, I do reference scripture. I do reference God. I do reference Jesus Christ. And if that's not something you're comfortable with, this is not going to be the podcast for you. However, I want to invite you to stay, because if it's not something you're comfortable with, and it may be just because you're unfamiliar, you are going to gain some context, some familiarity, and in a practical sense on this show. So I don't want you to just check out now, but I will tell you if it is something that maybe needs to be addressed and find out why you don't feel comfortable with it. Have that thought-provoking conversation with yourself and maybe sit down and journal about why you feel this way towards either Christianity, faith, Jesus Christ, God, whatever that is that kind of stirs up something in you. Explore that. I want to invite you to explore that. So some other things we're going to be talking about is maternal wellness. We're going to be talking about self-care, gratitude, support system, mindset, affirmations. These are things that I think are just really important. And especially as a Black community, I don't know if you saw the cover, but I am a Black woman. As a underrepresented minority, as a Black woman, we don't have enough conversations around it. Over the last few years, yes, conversations have shifted towards maternal wellness or towards self-care, yet there's still some shame around it. And women are still made to feel guilty about taking care of themselves. And let me tell you something. My idea of self-care is also when you hold space for self. I don't know if you know, I have a book called Holding Space for Self. I am also an author. But when you hold space for self, what you're actually doing is holding space for God to move in your life. And I think it's really important to make that connection, because everything that we do, we have to leave room for God. We can pursue any and everything we want in this life, but if we are not leaving room for God, that thing that we are choosing to pursue may not always be successful. And even if it is initially successful, it may not be consistently successful. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind as you listen to the show, as you get to know me as your host, and get to know our guests. So what's really dope about this show, and I'm really excited about it, is we are going to be having healthy conversations with Black men and women about wellness and family. Again, something that we don't talk enough about. For some reason, there's this notion that Black women are superwomen and that we have some aversion to pain that seemingly every other race of women, they feel, but Black women don't. And I want us to get rid of that. We're going to be having lots of conversation with Black women in regards to their support system, their self-care system, being single moms and how they manage. These are things that I think we need to have more conversation about. And I want to explore that with our guests. So every Monday at 12 p.m., we're going to drop an episode. This week, it's our first week. So we dropped 4 episodes. Please go check them out. So we have a 2-part episode with our first guest. You got to check it out to find out who it is. But my goodness, he's so dope. He's a serial entrepreneur. He is a TV host, and he might be the TV host of one of your favorite reality shows, the UK version. So shout out to my UK people. You guys love this show. I know you do. And I really am excited about the conversation with him. And something that you guys know in the UK that he went through that maybe everyone in the States may not know that he went through, and it went viral in the UK. So check out that episode. It's a 2-part episode. Get into it. Grab your cup of tea. Grab your pen and paper, because you are going to want to take notes. He is gem dropping. It's such a good episode. And every Monday, 12 p.m., we're dropping episodes. And every other week, we will have a guest. So this is our first season. This is the first episode. I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm so happy to now be able to begin to have this conversation with you. And I just want to invite you to get in the lab. Join this wellness journey that we're all on. We are becoming our best selves by being well and fit. So visit my website, shy1000.com. Visit my Instagram. I'm Shy1000 on every platform. I am like the only person, and very few people can get their whole name on every platform. But because my name is so unique, I am very fortunate. I am blessed to be able to have done that. And I am also blessed to be able to come to you each week and have these thought-provoking conversations. So subscribe. Make sure you give us a rating. Make sure you leave a comment. Leave some notes. I want to hear what you guys think of the episodes. This is only the beginning. It is only going to get bigger and better from here. And I want you to be a part of this journey with me as we become the best version of our well-fit selves. All right? So you're probably wondering, who is Shy1000, right? Like, who's this girl and what makes her a burnout coach, and now she's the host of this WellFit podcast lab. What is that? So, let me introduce myself. So I am Shia Thousand. I am a Christian burnout coach. I am also an author. I am a blogger. I'm a semi-blogger because blogging kind of annoys me sometimes, but I do blog occasionally. I am a writer. I am a contributor to Her Agenda, which is an awesome media platform for ambitious, go get it Black women out here just accomplishing major goals. So I do support that platform as a contributor at times. I am a woman who is in a metamorphosis right now, and I have been for some time. So let me tell you about my journey to wellness. I have been on this serious wellness journey for over 9 years now. I actually am born and raised a Brooklyn girl, Brooklyn, New York, and lived there for 31 years. And then had a really just crazy romantic situation that helped me just get grounded in myself, where I was at my lowest point, and God literally pulled me out of that and gave me the blessing to leave New York. And I moved to Miami and began this whole journey on trying to figure out how I even got in that situation. And then as I was figuring out how I got in that situation, I was really able to start seeing things a little bit differently because my lifestyle was very different. I was able to go outside more, spend more time getting my vitamin D needs met in the sun. I lived a half mile from the beach. So I was running every day, going to the beach and working out, running back home. And I loved working out already. And I was already someone that worked out in New York when I lived there. But there's definitely something different about moving to a new city and creating a new routine and life for yourself. I literally knew only 2 people in all of Miami that live there, right? Because if you're from New York, especially if you're from Brooklyn or the Bronx, you say you're going on vacation, they like, Miami? Yes, we out. And everybody knows you're going on some trip to Miami. And so we dip in and out, but I was living here now. So we always like to joke down here that we live where you vacation, but then it wasn't as funny. But I did see a change in myself. Working out really helped me build a level of not just confidence, but endorphins make you happy. And my happy bucket, my wellness bucket, fitness bucket was being filled ridiculously. So I really on this journey started realizing you know what? There's something to this. And I started implementing, just making sure that I was working out, making sure that my spirituality was in check. So making sure I was going to church, making sure I was reading my Bible, making sure I was praying. And that was another bucket that I was able to start filling, my spiritual bucket, where I was able to focus on my relationship with God in a whole new way since moving to Miami. And then I started focusing on creative outlets. I had a really demanding job and was a store manager at a major retail company. And that job was taking up all of my time. But whenever I did have time for myself, I always wanted to do something creative. And as kids, we're taught to kind of dismiss our creativity. But as adults, you don't realize when you tap back into it, the way that it fuels you. So I encourage you, if you're listening right now and you're thinking wow, that sounds interesting, think about the thing that you loved to do as a kid, write that down, and then try and incorporate that to some degree into your life over this weekend or the next week. And let that fill your creative outlet. And think about what it is that you do for your spirituality and what it is that you do for your physical fitness or your physical wellness. And let that fill your cup. I can't say it enough because it was really game changing for me in my life. And that's how I began my journey to wellness over 9 years ago. And then a few years ago, I decided I really wanted to support my friends who were having children or had kids, but didn't have time for self-care. So I started making these wellness care packages for them. And it was really focused around intentional self-care delivered to your door every day or every week, or monthly, however you decided to set up. And it was a subscription box, and it was called Hello Mama Box. And I loved doing that. And I did that for about a year and a half, supporting over 300 women. And if it was at an event, supporting them, or if it was friends and family, buying them subscriptions so that they could then get their self-care needs met without having to think about the cost or not knowing where to start. And I absolutely love that. And then from there, God put on my spirit that I really needed to learn about burnout, because what I did learn over the last 9 years is that burnout is how I kind of got to the place where I was at my lowest point. I was always working. I wasn't taking care of myself, and I was giving everything to everyone else and nothing to myself. So my cups, all of them were empty. I was working on fumes, and it was really detrimental to my mental health. So when God put that on my spirit, I really just said, you know what? All right, I'm going to do some research. So I started doing my own research and realized like, wow, okay, like this is exactly what I've been doing. I've been filling this physical, spiritual, and creative buckets. And this is how you overcome burnout. This is part of the overcoming and recovery of burnout. Really finding out what that is for you, and then intentionally putting effort into it to become the best version of yourself. And not just the best version of yourself, but pouring into those cups so that you are not empty and can always give from a place of overflow. And that was game changing for me. So then I went and I took a course on it, and I actually got a certification in stress management, and just began to do even more research about it and learning how burnout impacts your body, how stress impacts your body, and how burnout is really only the end result of being overwhelmed, being stressed, being overworked, and not having like boundaries in certain areas of our lives. And that was really, really, really awesome to kind of confirm for myself through my learnings, but then also be able to implement and share with others. So as I was doing the Hello Mama box and creating subscriptions for moms to get well, many other people wanted to be part of it, but they were not moms. So people kept reaching out like, can I get a box even though I'm not a mom? And then guys would be like, can I get a box? I'm a guy, but I want what you're offering. And I just don't want it to say Hello Mama box, of course. So I was able to then bridge out and make wellness boxes. And those boxes were just for individuals who wanted a self-care delivered to their door, where they didn't have to think about where to start. A lot of the time we get stuck in analysis paralysis about where to start. And I really wanted to take that off your plate and just deliver it to your door. You open it up and it has all the resources that you need for the next month to be intentional about your self-care and pour into your cup so that you can be full, and create a weekly self-care routine. So in every box, there were enough items to sustain you through the course of 4 weeks, and having what I like to call wellness moment, where you just pour into yourself, be it physical, spiritual, or creative. And that is how I got to this point where now I am an author. Now I am a public speaker. I go around to schools. I go around to different organizations, and I do trainings around burnout. I do trainings around holding space for self-awareness, as well as self-compassion and self-care, to help people fill those cups, also become self-aware enough to identify when they are stressed, identify their triggers, and then create an action plan around recovery. So that is how I got to this place. And that is also part of the journey to the WellFit Lab podcast, and why I wanted to do this. I wanted to share everything I've learned over the last 9 years, and then bring in people to engage with on their learnings throughout their wellness journey. So I'm excited. We are here. Let's get started. And I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you enjoyed the show overall. Definitely go on and subscribe, rate us, tell your friends, make sure you share it. And I hope to see you back here in the lab next week for the next episode.